Well, howdy, howdy, howdy. Nearly Senior Citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non-binary friends, and welcome to this, a brand new day. And remember, no matter who you are valid. Thumbs up for that. Well, hokey smokes, I have gone out for my walkies today. It was bright, sunny, hot, still is. Now I'm glad I'm inside. I had to turn my AC unit off, but it keeps it livable in here, thank goodness. It is, I always put stuff in front of the clock. It is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. It's been a slow start for me, and I'm going to have to talk about why. Oh my gosh. Because of my nerve compression, and when I went to the doctor with my appointment about my nerve compression, I also talked about how I got like a knot. Feels like there was a dagger between my shoulder blade and my spine. She could feel the knot of muscle inside, and it hurts like the devil. It had gotten to the point where there was no position I could get into that did not have that dagger in my back. So I got a prescription for Flexeril, which that's just a brand name. It's Cyclo something or other. It's just a generic muscle relaxer. I used to be prescribed that back 30 some odd years ago, back when I was working as a nurse's aide. So it's still being used because it's still a useful thing. But one of the side effects of that is drowsiness. So I've been okay with it in the past, but I don't know how I am right now. When I took it, I know how I am now. But I took it, went out for walkies, was doing good. During the walk, I hit a period where I was really shaky. Now, I get those when I'm kind of running low on fuel, like if I'm not eating. I'll get shaky, then that tells me I need to eat, that weak, shaky feeling. I got that. And I had eaten. So I don't know if it was from the Flexeril or if it was from something else. But I had that feeling, very unpleasant. And when I got back, I did stuff for a while until right around 10 o'clock-ish. And I got really tired. To the point that I cleaned off my bed, because I've got my stuffed animals on it, and I'll put stuff occasionally, just, from there, if I need to use my table, or just things from here, they go onto the bed, and then I move them off the bed when I'm ready to go to bed. And I moved stuff off, and then I laid down just to, rest my eyes for a minute or two. And I woke up at 1:30 a.m. Oh boy! So that was good, being awake at 1:30 in the morning, wide awake at 1:30 in the morning, because I'd fallen asleep for like 4 hours. Well, closer to 3, 2.5, but still long enough that it was like, oh boy. So I just came back over here, sat down in front of my computer, took my various medications, took another Flexeril, took only one melatonin gummy. I didn't want to take more than that and end up like being unable to properly function when I got out of bed. So it worked out. At about 2:30, 2:45-ish, I got tired enough that I closed everything down, went to bed, and set my clock, because I've been taking the big, strong blood pressure medication at right around 9:45 till 7 a.m. And since you're supposed to take them at the same time, because if you wait, well, you got a period where your blood pressure is uncontrolled. So I set my alarm clock and turned it on to make sure I'd be up to take my blood pressure medication. But I woke up on my own, of course, because even with medications, I find it difficult to sleep. But then that's the way it's been my whole life. Heard from my mother before she passed away, all the times of where she was telling me that she'd have to hold me down as a baby to get me to fall asleep. Otherwise, I just would not. So, thumbs up for that. Anyway, though, that's my flexural story and why I am finding it difficult to keep and stay moving. It has not been easy. I've been watching videos. I nodded off a time or two. But, and here's the important part. When I went in for my appointment, before I had the flexural appointment prescription, I could not get into a comfortable position no matter what. It felt like that dagger was in my spine, not my spine, my back. Even though I fell asleep last night in my chair here a tiny bit before I went to bed, even though I fell asleep a tiny bit here this morning with, undoubtedly my head hung a bit, it feels so much better. That relaxing thing being able to relax without being so stressed is actually allowing my trying to keep good posture so it heals up, allowing it to actually work. So, hey, that's a very good thing. I used to go to chiropractors all the time. When I was younger and I worked as a nurse's aide, if I had gone to a chiropractor for this, I would be getting crunched. Violent crunching. Oop, on the thing, I got the tablet on. But after all the things I've seen and heard about the bad things that happen with it, and after, growing older, I don't want to get crunched up anymore. I mean, you can tear the arteries all up and down your spine, and it's not a good thing. I mean, even 30 years ago when I was getting my back crunched, I was reading stuff about people who went in, got crunched, and ended up with a stroke because of the crunching that happened. I can speak English, I promise. The crunching that happened in, like, the neck and such. Tore an artery, stroke. So there's dangers, and so I don't want to do that anymore. But because of that, I mean, oddly enough, for me it always worked. I would go in feeling just absolutely terrible, get crunched, and I'd feel better. I'd be able to walk better. I would be able to do things better. So crunching can work, and I don't know why or how. Only that, if you have a chiropractor who says they can do things like cure or prevent diseases, you got a quack on your hands. And unfortunately, that appears to be a lot of chiropractors. Now, even though I've been spending a lot of time talking about that, I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about this here. Because it's Blood Moon Apocalypse. This is my city map here. You may notice there are only 3 locations. I've been doing maybe 1 game turn every day. But I've been doing game turns and actually playing. Now you'll see there was only 1 place you could go from here. So I can travel along these squares where the arrows go. And that's B, which B, over here on my character and base charting with the information on the other side, B is an office complex. I had to do an intelligence check to try and pick up the medical supplies, crafting supplies, and the electronics. Made the thing and got the supplies. However, I had forgotten that while you're out exploring, you have to roll for random location things when you walk into a new location. So I walked into the location and I had to fight a possessed individual. And with combat, is just like anything else. You roll your dice and you have a dice pool like it's strength. I had a combat knife. So I had 2 dice to roll. And I had to break a 5 to be able to hit and take care of the possessed individual, which is just a zombie. And I rolled a 1 on the first roll. And when you roll a 1, that's an instant fail. Now, you still take care of your combatant. So you can't really say kill on a zombie, but I took care of the zombie, and because I failed the roll, I took a hit of damage. And I then had to eat a ration. Now, of all the places you can find, there appear to be only about 1/3 of them that have rations in them. And once you take the rations out of there, they're not in there anymore. You got to go out further looking for rations, because if you can't eat, you die. And you have to eat one ration every single day. So really, there's a tight limit on your lifespan in this game. Now, it's fun. I'm just taking it very, very slow. Yay. Dry. In case you couldn't hear, I need to hydrate more today. I've been drinking tea, but apparently not enough. Let's see what else I have on my list here. I've talked about the Insomnia, and then I've talked about walkies, and what else do I have here? Blood, yeah, that appears to be it. Huh. So the only real other thing that I've got is I'm going to talk a little bit of history about my solo RPG setting. Because this is a bit of stuff where I've mentioned before, I will have this much material so that I can use this much as a reference material so I can write this tiny story. I actually found out why I do stuff like that. I mean, I know I'm a perfectionist and that I don't want to start something unless I can do it absolutely perfectly. That ties in with the rejection sensitivity, perfectionism. You have to make something that is so perfect, no one will reject it. And I've mentioned how when I do my story part, I have to, if I want this part of the story to be good, I have to construct the entire house of cards where any part of it does not work. The whole house will collapse. So I have to work on each individual part of it like that until every single piece of this gigantic tapestry is perfect and without reproach. Because rejection hurts so much. Click. So how about that? Yeah, that's why I'm in this story. It affects everything on the solo RPG setting while not actually being a part of it. It takes place 5 million years before everything I talk about, where there's a race of beings who lived on the face of the planet in peace and harmony. Almost 100 billion of them living on the face of the planet in their gigantic cities. And they had lived in peace and prosperity for, tens of millions of years, living in harmony with the planet itself, so that to the point of an it's hard for my tongue to say it, and I've been trying to do it consistently. There's a Australopithecus type creature that evolved on there amidst all the forests and all that, spread out and were around on the whole planet. And then one day, for one reason, something happened, and one of their weapons was used on a city. And it's the kind of weapon where one of the things that you can do that will wipe out a large area without using a bunch of heavy-duty stuff is you take like a gigantic titanium rod, like 1 kilometer long, and you just drop it out of orbit wherever you want. You hit whatever you aim at with that titanium rod, drop from orbit, and it's like a nuke hit them. except zero radiation. Nothing but devastation and death. It's perfect. Government and military think that, if you can do it. But it's the effect when it goes off. Boy, I can speak English, I promise. When it first goes off, it is effectively a 10 kilometer by, like whatever a 20th of 10 kilometers is wide titanium rod hitting from orbit, and across a circumference of about 2,000 kilometers. And while that's busy rebounding off of this, that's when the chemical and nuclear reactions start up, because there's instant nuclear fusion as everything is rocking from this impact, and the chemical sort of reaction burns through the crust of the planet where the city was in the middle of all this. Now, these forces shake the planet hard, but these people already had machines set in place, inertial dampers, because you can't have next to 100 billion people living on a planet if you've got earthquakes, if you've got tectonic slide happening fast. You got to slow it down. You got to dissipate that energy. And that's what the machines do. They slow down things so that things move. It just is slower, so all that impact and force gets dissipated. In this case, in an extra universal fashion, where the heat is vented off of veins, like not veins like leaves, not veins like veins, in an extra universal fashion where it dissipates this heat. Unfortunately, these machines also have offloaded part of their computing capacity to the cities, because they have to take care of an entire planet, and they also were not set up to try and dampen the forces of, something went bing-a-ding, negate the forces of all of these weapons destroying cities. And so, during the span of a year, all of these weapons end up being used, and the cities vanish one by one. With, of course, the burning, fusion, and impact causing these machines to try and dampen all of this happening, because all of these forces, they're just tearing the planet apart. But the machines, with their inertial damping, are slowing stuff down and dissipating that heat into the extra universal space, where if it didn't, the planet would have gone molten from the heat of the friction, and it would still be molten now, millions of years later. So it's a good thing they had the machines. But these machines were tearing themselves apart trying to save the planet. And as these bombs went off, and when the last one finished, and there were no survivors, every single city, every single individual burnt into nuclear ash. And then, of course, the chemical reaction destroying everything that's left. For almost 1 million years, things were very, very bad as these machines tore themselves apart completely, trying to keep the planet together. As time went on, there were fewer and fewer of them. So things got worse. It was a minor extinction event, but about a million and a half years, all of the changes had largely finished. But there's still, even now, an excessive amount of seismic activity, and in many places all the volcanic activity. The reason that the Hulat, the people that live on Karthkog are in and on Karthkog is because of continued tectonic activity right underneath where there was it's a split in the tectonic plates where matter is forced up and out. But while that is happening, matter is still coming up. And there is a ford that gets lifted upward with rock so that the people that lived here can now spread out over this way. And about 5,000 years ago, it finally became possible for the people that lived up here to emigrate in this direction, which is what they needed to do because the jet stream and such had changed, where that polar ice, not ice, but the polar winds that make everything so horrific on the poles, moved downward just a tiny bit, and that area where the Hulat used to live is now covered in ice. So if they hadn't been able to move, they'd all be dead. But they've been spreading out for the past 5,000 years. So I'll talk more about that. But yeah, there's nothing really left of the older race. Everything that they did and were was hit with these bombs that impact, fusion, chemical reaction. Everything that they were got burned away. And the machines that tried to keep the planet safe, they all got ripped up and destroyed. There's nothing left of them. So of them, they're not really important, except that in their deaths, they made the current setting possible, because where the original Australopithecus type creatures were on the one continent that I call Lanlua, these are what all of them would have become had this thing not occurred. But because of the cataclysm and the breaking off of all of these beings from each other, they had to speciate to survive. And so downward on Steldon, they speciated into what's genetically identical to humanity, us. And over on what is Karth Cog, they speciated into the Hulat. And there's other beings and other races, because I'm quite sure that on the other continents there are other beings that survived. Since their planet, like ours, is about 70% water and 30% land. Well, hey, thumbs up and thank you. If you've watched this far, if you could type "beautiful day," if I could turn that properly, into the comments, that would be awesome. Let me and the YouTube algorithm know that people watch the videos. Thumbs up and thank you very, very much. It is appreciated. For everybody that is a Patreon patron, you are beautiful and awesome people. You help me out so much. I mean, it is appreciated to no end. Beautiful, awesome. They should have your pictures in the dictionaries under those words, I swear. For everybody that leaves me a comment, you too are beautiful and awesome. I do my best to answer as many as I can, and while I know we're not going to have a vast conversation in there, it is fun, and I do as much as I can when I can. The nerve compression makes it, even touching this is not good. The nerve compression makes it difficult, but I do as much as I can. So thumbs up and thank you. It is appreciated to no end. So thumbs up and thank you, each and every one of you, for having watched. I'm nobody special. I'm just an old guy with issues, and I appreciate that. But I'm an old guy with issues whom I think I'm pretty creative. I think I've got not only good things to say, but sometimes even funny things to say. Now that's a good thing right there. Yay. So, until we meet again, you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side, and that is indeed a very good thing. And real quick, I was watching a thing where somebody was talking about how plants have adapted to people, being walked on. And it's not so much that they've adapted to being walked on. They've just adapted survival strategies to being walked on. Because like a day or two after I watched that, I came home and I was getting ready for bed, and I noticed that even hours after my walk on the field, I had a whole bunch of these long, thin seeds, where the seed pod had a little hook at the end, and that hook had gotten caught in my pant legs. So I had a whole bunch of these seeds I was carrying around that would have just been falling around and growing up wherever they landed. Just perfect for hooking into animal fur. So thumbs up. I was fulfilling a role that has been played out by others for millions of years. Yay. You take care, and I'll talk to you later.